Hello, this is Mr. Cook with a lesson on Google Sheets, lesson 11, and we're going to talk about how you manipulate sheets within a spreadsheet. Okay, a sheet is the individual spreadsheet, and you can have many of them with multiple tabs across the bottom of your spreadsheet. So you can relate many sheets together in one large spreadsheet. Okay, first of all, we want to know how to add a sheet. Well, you can add a sheet by hitting the little plus sign down here, and you'll see when I do that, it adds a new sheet. And I've already added a few sheets to this and deleted them. So it just gives you a next number up. So obviously I've done sheet 1 through 6 already. It says the next one is 7. Okay, notice that sheet 7 is completely blank. A new sheet is always completely blank and separate completely from the original sheet, other sheets in the thing, in the spreadsheet. Now, you may be able to relate those spreadsheets together to make them work together, and that comes later in later lessons. But for now, we're just learning how to deal with the sheets. We've just learned how to add a sheet with the plus sign. I'm going to add another one. We now have 3 sheets. Okay, I'm going to go back and switch. Notice that I've been switching between these sheets just by clicking on them. And notice they change color slightly. The white one is the active sheet, and the slightly gray one is not. So I'm on the active sheet, sheet 1, where my instructions are. So now let's duplicate a sheet. Let's say I don't want a blank sheet like sheet 7 and sheet 8. I want a copy of sheet 1. Well, this little down arrow gives you everything you can do with the sheet. You click on it, and you duplicate a sheet. And you'll notice that the copy of sheet 1 is the name of the new one. If I click, it looks like I was still on sheet 1, but I'm not. I'm actually on the copy, and notice that they're the same. Okay? So, I'm now on the copy of sheet 1. I've shown you how to duplicate it. Let's rename copy of sheet 1. Let's call it my duplicate side. Duplicate sheet. Okay? And if you'll notice that I misspelled that. I misspelled that quite bad. Well, I've duplicated the sheet. I gave it a name, a bad name, by renaming it. I'm going to or by duplicating it, I'm going to rename it now. How do I rename it? I click on the down arrow, rename it, and let me fix my spelling mistakes. Duplicate. There, now I spelled it, duplicate sheet correctly, and there's the rename. But maybe I wanted to say duplicated sheet, and I could have hit this down arrow and renamed it, but instead I'm just going to double click on it, which is the same as the rename function. You can just double click and edit that and change it. So now I've added the sheet, a blank sheet, 7 and 8. I've switched between them just by clicking on them. And now I'm looking at my duplicated sheet that I've renamed a couple times. Now what if I want the duplicated sheet to be at the end? I could move it by clicking and dragging it to wherever, but I really want 8 after 7. And maybe I want sheet 1 at the end. I didn't like that. I want sheet 1 at the beginning. All I'm doing is clicking and dragging. And finally, I want to delete a sheet back to my original. I can click on each sheet individually and delete them. It asks me if you really want to do that. And I'm going to do it to all 3. And, oops, wrong button. And I just added a new sheet there. I'm going to delete that guy too. Okay, and you've now seen me do each of these things. So that's everything you need to do to do the lesson 11.